Kumlen and Black Gemara. We are up to Daf Lamed Beis Amid Aleph. In fact, let's do the Mishnah again quickly for the benefit of those who weren't here yesterday. Lamed Aleph of the Beis, Lamed Aleph of the Beis Mishnah. Mi shenodar ben Nazir. Somebody made a neder, there'll be a Nazir. The Nishal lechacham, and then they went to a chacham saying, "Oh, I didn't realize what Isu said was Naziris." But I'm sorry, the chacham said, "Sorry, you are it's a valid Naziris." So he has to count the full days from the time that he made his neder. That was a full day. We'll soon see what that means. And in other words, it sounds like from the Mishnah, if let's say he made it, he decided to become a Nazir, then for 2 weeks he didn't observe the Naziris, thinking that he's not a Nazir. Then he finds out that he is a Nazir. Those 2 weeks that are considered part of the 30 days of his Naziris. That's what it sounds like for the Mishnah, because he didn't know. That wasn't deliberate. He drank the wine or he took a haircut. According to Rashi, he was even able to contaminate himself to mason, which is very difficult to understand. Because once you contaminate mason, the Torah says your Naziris is over. You got to start again, with no difference if a shegi go mason. Anyway, Nishal lechacham b'hatira. He went to chacham. The chacham said, "No, Yitaka not a nazir." So he was never a nazir, but he had a behema set aside already for his naziris. Hoysalei behema. We're doing the Mishnah Laman Alphabet. Hoysalei behema mufresh. We already set aside an animal. Teitze v'tira beida. So it's never a nazir. So therefore, the animal goes back to the normal stock. My understanding here is that the Naziris was based on an error, and we see clearly from it as if there was no Naziris. And this goes back to the situation, the argument we had yesterday with the Beshama and Basil. Beshama says that Hegdish Batos, Habi Hegdish. Here we see clearly here the animal, even though it was done Batos, goes back to normal. So he's a Beshama. Aren't you agree? Hegdish toys, the whole thing was an error. And what happens? It takes you to the Beit. If you made Hegdish by mistake, it goes back to normal. Beshame doesn't respond, but instead Beshame says back to him, "But you don't agree with me with the principle that Hegdish Betos is a Hegdish. Don't you agree with Misha Tol? Let's say it came to Maisa Behema, the 10th animal that goes through your portal, and you strike it with a stick and you put something rating on it is Maisa. If you made a mistake, the Kodal Chi Asidi Chi Lachoda, you call the 9th animal 10, the 11th animal 10, and so on and so forth. They all become Shehumu Kudish. So you clearly see from here the principle that Hegdish Betos is about Hegdish." Says no. If you were right that Hegdish Betos the Hegdish, then no matter what number animal I nominated to become number 10 should become Hegdish. Din is limited only to 9, 10, 11, which proves it's a special custom that 10 expands to 9 and 11. It's not the stick the person is nominating. I'll prove it to you. What happened if you made a mistake? Well, the 8th animal that we call 10. You'll agree that it's not considered Maisa. So the faket, the Hegdish Betos is not Hegdish. Only over there by Maisa Behema is an exception that 9, 10, and 11 are all 10. Elokosov she kiddush or asidi who kiddush. It's a pasuk that says that the 10th and the 9th as a charosa, that 10th expands to 9 and 11. Nothing to do with Hegdish and Tos. Says the Gemara. Let's analyze the beginning of our Mishnah. The beginning of our Mishnah said that if you didn't realize that you were a Nazir, and even though you were told that you're a Nazir, the days that he did not observe Naziris are counted as part of your Naziris. That's what the Gemara thinks the Mishnah is saying right now. So the Chayramani must listen. Who's also our Mishnah? Lo Rabbi Yosef, lo Rabbanan. Works out according to Nobel. What do you mean? The Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, Mishnah Nodar, if somebody made a neder over al Nazirus. Somebody made a neder to become a Nazir, and then he was over on his Naziris. So in this cooking law, we will not be mataneder, or we will not allow him to bring his kabbanis until he observes the full days of Naziris. So what? Let's say that 20 days out of his Naziris, he didn't observe Naziris. We will not allow him to bring his behemoths even when he finishes counting the rest of the Naziris until he adds those 20 days that he didn't observe properly. Not like our Mishnah that says that the days that you didn't observe properly are counted as part of your Naziris. Rabbi says no. Rabbi says, I'll agree with you if the whole lot is only 30 days and 15 of those days you didn't observe. Okay, we're not going to allow you to bring kabbalah under 30 or be mataneded to you until you observe the other 15 days that you should have. Till you came along to be mataneded. But if it's more than 30 days, let's say 100 days, then I say that all you have to repeat is the 30 days, because that's what the trader says is a zin. It's no more than that. So it's only a penalty, so we're gonna penalize you for 30 days. Because according to the trader, it's only tumah that cancels the naziris, not the rest. It's the rabban, the penalty. Rabbi says, now, if Rabban Kasha Naziris Maruba, the Rosh says we're supposed to go forget. If the Rabban we have a problem, even Naziris Maruba, even in the case where it's 100 days, the Rabban say every single day you didn't observe, you have to repeat. And our Mishnah seems to say you repeat nothing. And Rabbi Yasi, at least Kasha Naziris Muta. Okay, Naziris Maruba is not a Kasha, because Rabbi Yasi can say when the Mishnah says that you don't have to repeat all those days, it's talking about the days more than 30. But in the Zidus Muetas, what Rabbi Yossi says, the entire 30 days have to be repeated. Our Mishnah says you repeat nothing. Ibai is tame. If you want, I can tell you our Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. Ibai is tame. If you want, I can tell you Rabban. Our Mishnah can perform with either one. We're just going to modify the interpretation of the words Moina Mishar Shanad. And it goes as follows. Ibai is tame. Rabbi Yossi can ben Aziz Meruba. Our Mishnah is talking about a lengthy Naziris, let's say 100 days. So the Mishnah says that Moina Mishar Shanad, that you don't have to repeat. You're talking about the repeating more than the 30 days. The 30 days you have to repeat, but anything more than that, for example, if you let's say you kept 30 days and now on so on and so forth, then you just you didn't keep the rest of the 100, you don't have to repeat that. The Bryce is talking about when it's the Nazir Muetis, so basically says you have to do nothing. So our Mishnah our Mishnah is talking about Nazir Muetis, and that's why, and the Bryce side, the Bryce says you have to repeat is talking about it, the whole Naziris was 30 days, and you didn't observe part of that, so therefore you have to repeat it. Our Mishnah is talking about that you don't have to repeat it, talking about you took 100 days upon yourself, and you kept more than 30 days. Ibai is Tema Rabban. You want I can tell you that Mishnah is Rabban. I say Rabban say you have to repeat the entire exercise. Now Mishnah says you repeat nothing. So I don't care even if you learn our Mishnah talking about Nazir Maruba, it makes no difference. Because the Rabban you have to repeat all the days. If you took 100 days and 80 days you didn't observe, you got to repeat another 80 days. Late Tema Mishah Shenazah. Don't take the Mishnah literally. That what Mishah Shenazah. That what you have to you go back to the day that you took upon yourself Naziris, and all those days count as part of your Naziris, even though you didn't observe them. That's how we learned literally. No. Whatever day the Rabbanim told you that your Naziris is real, make as if that is the day you accepted upon yourself Naziris and start counting now. So it's not your Rabbanim.
Have such a source. Is it just a toss? Where you have to be master.
The Rashi learns the way Al Gemara says that the Rosh. I'm learning to track the Rosh. Exactly, yeah. Where I just told you, yeah. So that's a different shouting about, but the Rosh is more glatt. He went to the Chachamim, they were matter. We said the whole thing was in the error, and the Behemi set aside nothing. From Beis Shammai's understanding, we can also, where Beis Hill is murder, that a mistake is valid. We can understand from Beis Shammai's approach to Beis Hill's approach. What do you mean? Lav Amri Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai says Hegdish b'tois havi Hegdish. Beis Shammai said that even if you made Hegdish b'tois, it is considered Hegdish. Kiva de Gloy Milsa de Lav Shapin Nazar. Right? Beis Shammai holds if you made Hegdish b'tos, it's a valid Hegdish. And yet by Nazir, it turned out to be that you weren't a Nazir. We said the animal goes wandering about. This goes back to normal. So the Beis Hill Nami, the Beis Hill also, where Beis Hill is made that b'tos is a valid. Where the Beis Hill made? He just said it by Tamura. The Beis Hill Nami Avagavdami Tamura b'tos habi Tamura. So where Beis Hill says if you made an error, it's still valid. Mostly b'tos by Tamura. Number 9 is 10, 10 is 11. Sorry, or by Tamura. Sorry, where you made it. What do you call it? The second animal, you meant to say Tumuras Oile, and instead you said Tumura. Remember, if you remember, the whole machlek is based on Beis Shammai says we compare Tchilas Tumura to Seif Tumura. Just like Seif Tumura. You meant to say that this animal should be Tumuras Oile, instead you said Tumura Shlamim. It's Chal, so we see that if you made a mistake by Tumura, the second animal, it's valid. So Beis Shammai says so too in the beginning, when you consecrate an animal, if you made a mistake, the words came out, that's what we have to follow. And Beis Hillel says, no, you cannot compare once the Kedusha is on animal number 1, and all you're doing is transferring animal number 2 is much easier. And therefore, even Batas allow it, then if you, the Chatchila want to create Hegdish, you take an animal, you want to make it holy, and you said the wrong thing, you didn't say the right thing, there, the Kedusha is not Chal, right? But Seif Torah, everyone agrees, Batas, it's a valid Torah. But since by Beis Shammai we say even word Batas is a valid Hegdish, yet if you unravel it, then the animal you set aside is not Kodesh at all. The same thing by Hill in the case of Tamura. What do you mean? What happens if you then go be Mata Neder, you show on your Neder of the first animal? The first animal. that first animal is no longer Kaddish. Then the Tmura part, so the Tmura will fall away as well. In this case, even though the Tmura is Chal bin Betos, but where the original animal disappears, the Kaddish disappears, the second animal, the corollary, will also disappear. So Hani mil hegdish illegal hegdish, the original hegdish still remains hegdish. Aval hegedim is akid hegdish. But if, let's say, for you were shoyel, you went to the rabbanim and you were matan neder, you took away the kedusha of the first animal, then he's akid namit tmura. But she'll agree that the tmura, the second animal, also loses kedusha, even though we're so machmir that betos the hegdish is chal, but where it's predicated on the first animal, but the first animal loses. Yeah, that's when you shoyel. When you go to shoyel hegdish, it's never had it. Studying more further, Amamad, he had to made him, Sheila Karolchia City. So base what do you call it? Beshamai's responsibility is that you also made in the concept of a principle of Hegdish Betos. But now you take the ninth animal, you call it 10. It's Chal. Yeah, Amamad, he had to made Sheila Karolchia City. Itma, we learned Maise, interesting machlekes. Rab Nachman says to Usay v'loy kavanose. When do we say that if you did the ninth animal, you called it 10? It's a meiser only if you did it by mistake. No, if you thought this was talking a 10 animal, but if you nominated and you called the ninth animal 10 deliberately, why would the meiser be chal? So Rav Nachman holds that's only to us, only if you made a toss. But like kavanah, not if you deliberately meant it. They say that if you made a mistake, and surely if you did deliberately, you made a mistake. You had no intention. Your taki thought it was number 10. We say that even though it was a mistake, it's chal. Surely if you deliberately called it number 10, it's chal. So you might have a question. I'm not going to have a problem. According to you, but you say too, it's like the whole thing is based on an error. So tell me, let's go back to this Mishnah. The Ka'amri Beishana Beisil. Beishamai's argument to Beisil is, aren't you made in the principle of Hegdish B'tos? And he talks about Ma'aseh Behema. But according to you, Rav Nachman, the only time Ma'aseh Behema applies is if you did it by mistake. There's no response. Beisil should have said. Should have said, one second, what do you bring Ma'aseh Behema here? Ma'aseh Behema is only if you made a mistake. And in other words, you had absolutely no kavanah. You really thought that this is number 10. And so on and so forth. So it only works then. But if you deliberately decide to call number 9, 10, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you hold, what do you call it? But you hold Hegdish always is the Hegdish. You said the first animal and you said black and it turned out to be white and the white becomes Kaddish. The way Abai learned before that if you did it in the afternoon and you said the black animal came out first, it turned out to be white and the white becomes Kaddish. You know why I didn't bring it up? Because the Kavachayim, Bisham could have easily answered him. Where if you deliberately set out to call number 9, 10, nothing happens. Yet Kaddish B'tois, Hegdish Kaddish B'kavana, Hegdish where you have to have Kavana decide to call them Hegdish like Koshkin. Surely that if you did a toss, it should be Chal. So the Gemara says, no, that's not a good enough reason why Basil didn't say, because if Bisham would have brought the Kavachayim, but Basil says, what do you bring a mice and Hegdish? The Hegdish bedai to the mother. The whole idea says each Yagdish is basically a person has to know what he's doing. So by Hegdish is very different than by Tmura. So therefore Basil could have said there's no such Kavachayim. A Hegdish you have to know exactly what you're doing. Why doesn't Basil raise that mice is only if you did a bit toss? Is a raya that mice is just like Hegdish, whether you did it by mistake or whether you did it with Kavanah, you decide to call number 9, 10, it's still Chal the mice. And that's what Beishamai says to Basil. You agree that if you call the wrong thing by Hegdish, the words came out wrong, even though that was not your Kavanah, the words came out wrong, you have to follow your words. Even though you didn't mean that at all. Mishnah. Me should not have been Nazir. What happens? Somebody made a neder to be a Nazir. V'holach and lahavi behem. They're thinking that he has animals in the stock. So these are the animals. Can breed 3 animals. He's a poor man, and he knew he had a few animals there, so he decided he'll become a Nazir and he'll bring up these animals as karbonis. But what happened was after he made his neder, umatza, he found shenigneva. The animal's no longer there. So what happens now? And he has no other animals, and what should he do? Can he say the whole thing was based on an error, and therefore I'm like Basil, I'm not a Nazir, or what happens now? If he made a neder, the animal was still. When he made a nazir, the animal was still in his barn. It was stolen only afterwards. Then hadez a nazir. Why? That's called noilid. That's called that there's a new variable that came into effect. At the time you made the neder, you became a nazir. This variable didn't exist. It didn't exist. It's called noilid. And we learned, you're not poiseach ben noilid. Now, the way most of the Shayim learn, what do you mean not poiseach ben noilid? Every Pesach is you say to them, if you would have realized this would happen, would you have said that? Every Pesach is noilid. But every Pesach is a noilid that had you thought about it,
had to be pre-existing.
not even if it wasn't, but had you, it's common, it's a common thing, and had you just thought about it, you say, oh, of course I should have made the neder. So we say you just didn't think about it, slipped your mind, okay, that's a Pesach. But it's something which is totally uncommon. In other words, even if you would have thought about it b'shas ma'aseh, you would say, hardly ever happens. What am I worried about? Who toilet happened? That kind of a noilid we're not Pesach with. So if you say, if your animal will be stolen, would you still be neder? Why would my animal be stolen? You don't think that the animal is going to get stolen, so he still would have proceeded with his neder. So such a kind of Pesach we don't make. But when you decided to become a nazir, your animal was already stolen. But you just weren't aware of it. You thought your animal was still in your barn, so it's taka based on an error. Then ain't a nazir. Then you're not a nazir. This mistake was made by Nochem Hamadai, when the Nazirim came from Goyla. What do you mean? What happened was they came from Babel or they came to Eretz Yisrael. Now remember, if you today, if you cannot accept the Nazir Chutzlar, because if you become a Nazir today, it's a Nazir Oila, because you can never bring Kabbanas. So they became a Nazir and they came to Beis Hamikdash to bring the Kabbanas, and so the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and they had no idea. So they went to Nochem Hammad. They didn't want to know what to do. They see the rest of their lives. They found the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Nochem Hammad said to them, "Ilu Yisum Yedin, Beis Hamikdash Chanav." In other words, he made a Pesach them with a noilid. If you would have known the Beis Hamikdash would be destroyed, would you have made a Nazir? Amrullah, also of course not. Then Amrullah, they said to him, no. The Hitilu Nochem Hammad. Nochem Hammad came along and was matanet to them. He used this noilid as a Pesach. And they said that he made a mistake here. Because if they would have said, if you would have told them in Babel, the Beis Hamikdash will be destroyed, would you have made the thing? They would think, why Beis Hamikdash destroyed? How can it be destroyed? We're standing for 410 years already. It's not going to be destroyed. So therefore, it's a noilid that is so uncommon, even if they would have thought about it. B'shas Ma'aseh, they still would have went ahead with their Naziris. So therefore, he made a mistake relying on that kind of a Pesach to undo their neder. When they came to Chachamim, they said, Kol Nazar. If they accepted upon the Son of Zidus before the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, then they remain a Nazir for the rest of their lives. And you cannot use an opening up. If you would have realized the Beis Hamikdash be destroyed, would you have accepted it? Because even if they would have thought about it at the time of the Neder, they would have said, so preposterous, it's not going to happen. There's no way the Eibush is going to allow this to happen. However, if by the time they made the neder, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, just that they were not aware of it, then ain't no nazir. That was based on error. It's not a nazir. Omar Rabba says, Rabba, Shotfu Rabbanon the Rabba Eliezer, the Ukmu V'Shetasayo. Interesting expression. The Rabbanon swept. Sorry. No, not at all. Not at all. The Rabbanon swept.
Washed it away.
What do you mean? Because Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus was there by the Churban Beis Hamikdash. We know where Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai was in that Aron. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua was the one who carried him out. So he was there. So he obviously agreed with Nochem Hamadai initially. But then they convinced him to follow their own shita, the Chachamim shita. Now the Rambam Pishon Shnai says a whole different pshat in this whole Mishnah here. And everybody, Lechem Mishnah and a few others, they talk about it because it's a very difficult Rambam. Because he learned that whether you need to have fun, when we said at the beginning of Mishnah that you're a Nazir and and therefore you need your regular Nazir, you have fodder. He learned that you're Nazir and you don't need to have fodder, so automatically goes disappears. He has a whole different shit to hear in the whole thing. Well, like Nochem Hamadai, did Nochem Hamadai give them a hafara? What did Nochem Hamadai do? Did Nochem Hamadai say, okay, in that case, I let's use this Pesach, and it's a good hafara, and you're no longer Nazir? Is that what he did? The Rambam says no. The Nochem Hamadai came along and said the whole Naziris is not a Naziris at all. You don't need hafara. because if you would have realized basically would be destroyed, but you have taken it upon yourself, as if you don't even have fodder at all. There's a whole different gang in this Pesach of knowledge. What do you mean that we say if you use knowledge as a Pesach, you don't use knowledge Pesach? Normally we learn, so that's a hafara. There's different ways of hafara, charata or knowledge. And the Rambam on this Pesach here learned that you don't need hafara at all. And it's not a case of hafara and a different ramification. Anyway, what's the story? Now we look in the Mishnah, that you're hold you are Pesach. Nobody he agreed with Nachum Amadai. And when we say we have Pesach, we're talking about even in a case where it's not common for this to happen, but we tell them if you would have realized that this would have happened, turned out this way, would you have made your net in the first place? Abelazar says that's a good Pesach. And so, but the Rambam learns that you don't need. It's not hafara. You don't need. He's telling you never nazidus. But the way we learn is therefore it's a good hafara. And the Chachamim said that's not a Pesach. Why? Because even if he would have thought about it, B'shas Mai says the circumstances are so rare, he still would have proceeded with this neder. We cannot say to him, if you would have realized that the base Hamikdash, whatever, would you have made your neder? And since he would have made it anyway, it's not a Pesach. If it's predicated on Neilad, but we're actually using a different Pesach, we would rely on it. What are you talking about? Hey, Chidami, what are you talking about? What happens the following? Also, we said that we had in Maran Dharma a little bit like if 10 people came to you. Ilu also inish, if a person came to you, there we had, if 10 people would have come to you. If somebody would have come to you to give you advice, you would have sought advice from your mentor, your mashpia, your Rav. You would have asked for advice. Oh, should I become Nazir or not Nazir? You know, and this Rav would have advised you, look, would you have take on the Zidus if you knew the base of Midrash would be destroyed? And you and those Rabbi suggesting maybe you shouldn't, and you would have listened to his advice and not taken it serious. That's a good Pesach, even though it's predicated on the fact that the base of Midrash was destroyed. And we said the likelihood of that happening is so rare. So it depends. If it's directly related to the Noilid, we say, had you realized the base of Midrash was destroyed, would you have taken on? That's not a Pesach. But if we say to him, if somebody that you respect would have or came over to you and advised you not to take it to the base of Midrash might be destroyed, then that's a good Pesach. Ilu was the Inish Mamlech would have told you the Chara base of Midrash, the base will be destroyed. Me having a dinner would make an effort. Rabbi said, if I would have been living at the time of the Chura base of Midrash, I would have said to them, what are you talking about? This is not a Noilid that is rare. They already knew the base of Midrash would be destroyed, and therefore it's a valid Pesach. Nobody would have said if you'd have thought about it, basically it would be destroyed. Even though 200 years earlier it would have been a noilid, but a rarity. But they already knew the base of it would be destroyed. Where do they know? Because Yirmiyah said, Heichel Hashem, Heichel Hashem, Heichel Hashem, Hema. He said 3 times that this is the Heichel Hashem, Heichel Hashem. Don't believe the other than Vi Habal will tell you, that go to Mitzrayim, everything will be good and rosy. He said, no, the Heichel Hashem, the Heichel Hashem, Heichel Hashem, Hema 3 times. What's the 3 Ramazimir? First of all, he told them it would be a Migdash Rishon, the first base will be destroyed. And then he told them it will be a second Heichel Hashem will be destroyed. What are you listening to the there's false Nevi'im here, Nevi'ah Sheker. Not only will this base of Midrash be destroyed, there'll be a second base will be destroyed, and then the third base of Midrash will be built by Mashiach, and that's going to be Leilam Vlad. So Rabbi Yosef said, I would have argued that it's not called Neilut. Says the Gemara, that's not an argument. They knew the base of Midrash will be destroyed. They didn't know precisely when. They didn't know precisely when. Abaye, interesting. Instead of attacking his Rebbe, he rallies his defense because somebody else jumped in and attacked his Rebbe. So he rallies his defense. They had no idea when the base of Midrash was destroyed. But see, there's a remez in the passage where it says Shvuyim Shivim, that 77 Shmittas, Nechtich al Amchalayim Kachecha. That's 77 Shmittas, which is 490 years. Sorry? No. 70 Shmittas, which is 490 years. 70 Shmittas, 490 years will be from the end of the first base of Midrash to the end of the second base of Midrash, which includes the 70 years of bubble, and there's 420 years of the second base of Midrash. So they knew precisely when the second base of Midrash knew precisely the year that base of Midrash will be destroyed. Even though Gemara Zohar will learn their whole machlekes exactly how to make the calculations. So Abaye says Rabbi Yosef was right. They knew. Says the Gemara, Abakati miyadin b'hayayim. Did they know which day? So every day they would say, it's not happening now. It's not imminent. I don't see it on the horizon. It'll happen later in the year. So they still would have proceeded with their nezidus, even if they knew this is the year that the base of Midrash will be destroyed. They couldn't imagine it happening. So every day they'll say, it's tomorrow. Mañana. Okay, next mission, which we already learned before. And we learn the Mishnah by Taisun and Rosh. They were traveling, two people walking down the road. From a distance, they see somebody approaching them. Let's say Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar. Reuben says, and that's Shmuel there. Amar Echel man, so Reuben says, Hareini Nazir, Shazep playing. Reuben says, I'll be a Nazir if that, because I'm sure that person is Shmuel. The Echadam and the other guy said, no, that's not Shmuel. Hareini Nazir, Shazep playing. I'm a Nazir if this guy is not Shmuel, because I'm sure it's not Shmuel. So definitely one of them will be a Nazir, one of them won't be a Nazir, because it's either Shmuel or it isn't Shmuel. Comes along Levi, the next person, and Hareini Nazir she'ech bekem Nazir. Levi says, I'll be a Nazir if one of you will be a Nazir, which one of them will be a Nazir. So Levi definitely will be a Nazir, because he's saying, I know one of you will be a Nazir, because either it is Shmuel or it isn't Shmuel. Okay, then comes along the fourth person, Yehuda. I'll be a Nazir she'einech bekem Nazir, because one of you definitely won't be a Nazir, and I'll be a Nazir. Now, each one is definitely thinking they'll become a Nazir. And again, Yehuda definitely will be a Nazir, because one of them definitely won't be a Nazir, because either it is Shmuel or it isn't Shmuel. Comes along Yisachar, not to be outdone. He says, Sheshneichem Nazirim, I'll be a Nazir, because both you and Reuben and Shimon will both be a Nazir, because both of you think that you're 100% right, and you want to be a Nazir. And he thought that because these people generally wanted to be a Nazir, each one was so convinced that he's right. Either it's definitely it is Shmuel, definitely he's not Shmuel. So in other words, and they both said, we'll be a Nazir if I'm right. I mean, they both wanted to be a Nazir. I'll be a Nazir, both. Now, of course, he's wrong, because both of them can't be Nazir. Comes along Zvulun, and he says, Shekulchem Nazirim. I'll be a Nazir because all of you are Nazirim. Levi and Yehuda for sure be Nazir. And Reuben Shimon also. And now Yisachar will be a Nazir. I'll be a Nazir because you're all Nazirim. His Beis Shammai says, cool Nazirim. They all made a mistake. They all wanted to be a Nazir. They all thought they would be a Nazir, and they all made an error in their judgment. And according to Beis Shammai, Hekdesh Betos, Nazir Betos is a Nazir. The Shul says, Einu Nazir. You're not a Nazir. Levi and Yehuda definitely aren't Nazirim. Yisachar are not Nazirim, because not all of them are going to be Nazirim. And Reuben and Shimon, one of them will be Nazir, one of them won't be Nazir. Right? It's either Shmuel or it isn't Shmuel. But then the Hill still is the most cryptic words. Ela Misha Lein is kind of who will be Nazir? Only Dafka, the one who's wrong. Odd. But Abtarfin says, Ein Hechem ben Nazir. Abtarfin says we had as many times. Says the pasuk ki yafli. Yafli means when you took upon yourself Naziris, you had to know exactly what you're talking about. You had to be clear in your mind that you're becoming a Nazir. Even Reuben said that he believes the person is Shimon. It wasn't clear at the time that is so. Sorry, that person is Shmuel. He didn't know 100% it was Shmuel. He was just convinced that it was, but he didn't know for 100% no. And in the order, ish ki yafli linanezah, that when you make this to accept upon yourself Naziris, you have to be 100% certain that this is a Nazir. And therefore, even Reuben, even if it turns out to be that it is Shmuel, Reuben is not a Nazir. Because at the time of when he uttered those words, it wasn't 100%. What happens suddenly? This person Shmuel, he sees the 6 guys running over there. He didn't know what they were. But gangsters, they turned around and fled. Now nobody knows what happened. Is it Shmuel? Not Shmuel? Then ain't a Nazir. This is the Gemara later on says Rabbi Yehuda. There's not nobody's a Nazir over here. Nobody's a Nazir because we haven't verified, and there's no suffix Naziris. Remember, we had an argument if a person does suffix Nadarim, are we machmir or not? So Rabbi Yehuda says a suffix Nadarim is not a neder, suffix Naziris is not a Nazir. Since we have no idea, he never took upon himself Naziris, so he was not going to be eventually verified one way or another. Rab Shimon. Once Reuben and Shimon are Nazir, Machlekes Shmuel would have to be full. Because if one of them is Nazir, but the Poil, none of them are Nazir. Because Rabbi Yehuda says, not Reuben nor Shimon is Nazir, and saying Abtarfin, not Reuben, not Shimon is Nazir, so what happens to Levi and Yehuda? Rab Shimon says, something is Lahachmid. On the other hand, what happened turns out to be it wasn't Shmuel, you're going to bring Kabbalah to the base of Mikdash when it's a Chulin Ba'azara. So Rab Shimon says, you know what? This is what you have. You have to take upon yourself Naziris, but to avoid the problem about the animals not being a carbon, because maybe you're not a Nazir, this is what you do. You say, look, I'm going to be a Nazir, but Manushach. If I'm turned out to be right that was Shmuel, then Hareini Nazir Chayv. I'm a Nazir because I said earlier I'm going to be a Nazir Shmuel. Beam lav, but what happens if it's not Shmuel? Then Hareini Nazir. I take upon myself right now to be a Nazir Nazir. I take upon myself to be a Nazir Nazir. Just 2 lines.